an honor to be here with you and to be able to share an idea that I think about so often with you guys. It's something I kind of hold dear, and it's constantly evolving, so I'd love your input as well. My name is Sam Smith. I'm a senior at NYU Gallatin, which is a school of individualized study, and I study government and human nature, the intersection and the separate study of them as well. I'm very involved in student entrepreneurship and technology startups, and I also have a passion for policy and social innovation in general. The idea that I'm here to talk to you about today is removing identity from systems thinking. So first, what is systems thinking? Systems thinking is the ability to look at a system within other systems, as well as the relationships of pieces within a system. A system can be anything you define it to be. So one of the biggest barriers that we have when we're thinking through decisions, interacting with each other on a daily basis, is that we have all of these different things and associations that inform who we are as a person. And we forget in every little interaction that that's informing how we're responding to someone, we're deciding things, or we're projecting things for the future. And so too often we forget that those things are our relationships, the religion that we were brought up with, how our parents treated us, what school we go to, our hobbies, our job. And I'm asking you today to think about those more commonly and keep them in check. How can you keep them in check, though, is the question. One of my favorite ways to do this is to simply stare out a window, and do this a lot. It's not just a great form of meditation, but really what it allows you to do is to look at a crowd and remove yourself from the equation. So you can practice this almost anywhere you go. And what happens is you turn into an observer. And if you can do this and really work at removing all those little assumptions that you have on a day-to-day basis, you get a bird's eye view of what's going on. And now you get to not only make up fake scenarios, but you also get to remind yourself that you don't know the little details about the person down on the street, and you also don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and you don't know how someone is responding to how you're thinking, but you also don't know what informs their identity. So why is this good? Why is practicing removing yourself from an equation and thinking about your assumptions really important? Well, there are several things that happen. The first is that you'll begin to pick up on little details all over the place, about people, about systems, about different entities at work, anywhere. And you can use these to your advantage in different ways. And you can also use them to just better understand and work with people. The second thing is that you will suddenly have much more empathy for people. You'll very quickly learn to look at other groups and other people as a person or a group that you could have been part of. And so you'll take much more time to understanding them and work with them. And I think this kind of refers to what Andreas was talking about earlier, and that is asking questions and working to understand those people that you're serving. And I'm assuming that a lot of you guys are here because you are working on creative solutions and much more progressive ideas. The third thing that will happen is that you'll question yourself much more often, and you'll be much more thorough about what you do present to the world. And I think that this is a great thing because often we're afraid to critique each other. And so who better than yourself to really rerun through your ideas over and over? When you produce an idea, that's not something that you just put down on paper or lock away in your head and it's done. It needs to be something that evolves with you for a long time. The fourth thing that will happen is that you'll realize and you'll get better at removing emotion from your situations and your decisions and the way you interact with people. So a lot of times we employ emotion and it's good, but there are other times when we can harness that and hold back and present ourselves much more strongly or get to a solution faster because we kept emotion out of the situation. A fifth thing that will happen is that you'll refer less and less to your own knowledge. Sometimes, I forget which author it is, there's a great book on this, but we immediately jump to the knowledge that we do know and we're certain of because we can stand on those grounds, rather than thinking about the knowledge that we don't know that's most important to a situation. So you'll stop referring to what you do know and you'll acknowledge what you don't know and go after that. And that allows you to also increase how well-rounded you are and to prove yourself in different situations. And the sixth thing, and perhaps the most important, is that you'll constantly, from this self-reflection and this staring out the window and just looking at things with a stripped identity, you'll be able to reassess who you are day to day, how you're changing and who you really want to be, and then you can actively, proactively go after that and employ ways to improve yourself. And I think that's maybe one of the most important things. So all of this allows us to look at the world with a blank slate, but this allows us to also try new things. We're going to be more apt to try new things, to think differently, to work with different people with different identities. But this also has an application somewhere else. And I want to talk to you about how we can use removing identity and thinking systemically to improve our own society through government. James Surowiecki, he talks about this, and one of his main points that I'll get to, he presents in his book, The Wisdom of Crowds. And so he starts out by saying that collectively we are wiser. So the average, he says, of most things, so say he uses the example of a race. The average of people who run a race will often be inferior to that of the strongest runner. But when it comes to decision making, what happens is we take all our decisions, and the average is often better than the person that we would call an expert. And so this proves the ability of democracy and just asking and having much more people and information and their opinions with different identities in the mix. And so his second point is that diverse groups, like I just said, are going to be stronger, they're going to have better outcomes, but they do need to keep their own identities in check, and they need to make sure that they don't become biased based on what someone else is saying in the crowd. And so if we can then take those people who do present the wrong idea and no one is influenced by them, we can keep it to the side, that average decision will be stronger. And his third point is that decentralized systems, I can never remember this one by heart, decentralized systems can produce intelligent results if there's a means for actually aggregating that intelligence. And so what that means is that if we were to take all of you all the time and be able to tap into your knowledge, we would have those superior results. But there is no technology to do that right now, but we are seeing the rise of crowdsourcing. And so that brings me to my last point. And I'm just gonna go over and recap everything really quickly because it might not be so, I guess, obvious how these things flow together. So we've covered that there is a huge importance of removing our own identity from different situations in order to think better systemically and to think about those things within a system that we're not aware of, and to be able to work with other people of different identities. And we've also just learned that collectively we're wiser as a group. And so it's really important to be conscious of what we do and don't know and to work with those other people. And so the last thing that I want to talk to you about is that there are really cool organizations out there that are building technologies to do that last point that James Surowiecki puts out. He proposes that we need these technologies to be able to aggregate our collective intelligence. One of these was actually put out by the federal government, which makes me very proud because I really think government's very important. A lot of us ignore it day to day, but really it's this quiet little engine that's making a lot of decisions all the time in all different sectors that affect us not only today, but they affect the next 100 years and all the people that are born into our society thereafter. And we need to make sure that it's evolving very quickly with them, just as we evolve so fast. And so Challenge.gov is one of the things that the government put out, and it's basically a big platform for people to put solutions out to different problems that the government's facing, and they can often get rewards. I'm taking a class right now on Government 3.0, and we don't think that monetary incentives are the best way to actually get people to engage, and so I think we're having a different problem getting people to put that information forward, but at least we're starting to actively be able to take in the ideas and decisions and different knowledge that all these people with different identities have. Another one is OpenIDEO, which hopefully you've heard of. It's put out by the design firm IDEO, and it allows different groups and individuals to propose solutions, but then they also get to critique each other's and slowly narrow it down to the right decision that they want to actually employ. And often IDEO does put money behind the idea. And they're working very well with college campuses and employing really young people with a lot of talent. Two other similar ones are Dialogue App and Solvish. Both of these are crowdsourcing policy solutions and allowing individuals to come together and talk about what policy should say and inform the people who are writing policy, which is huge. This is even better than looking at policy post proposal at the Federal Registry, which is now also online and is quite a beautiful website. If you haven't checked it out, you don't have to go take out these big books from the library anymore. And then my final one that I want to put in front of you is Open Plans, and I hope that you'll go back and check them out. Their color, their logo is orange. What they do is they don't just build a technology that crowdsources whatever. They specifically work with a different city or government that needs help creating a technology to tap into its citizens' knowledge and all their different abilities to contribute. And then in addition to building that technology, getting that intelligence, they help deploy it, which is just huge. And so you want to talk about building a system to tap into systems thinking. They're also building a system, which is their own organization, to systemically integrate that information. So this is huge, and I really, really respect Open Plans, and I hope that they continue on this track. And so these tools will continue to improve and are a huge starting point for improving the democracy that we have and reminding us why democracy in society is so important, and that together, if we can aggregate this knowledge, we can have a much more wise and intelligently chosen path for our society. And so I want to leave you with the thought that to be a better problem solver, you need to remove your own identity from a situation. Remember every morning when you wake up that you have been composed of different situations and different experiences that other people haven't. And if you can remove that and kind of work without it sometimes, you'll see things in an incredibly different way, and you'll also understand people and their identity in a different way. The second thing is please seek out the information and the friendship and the knowledge of all of your peers, all of your citizens. And then from there, please participate in civic solutions. I mean, we are the only ones who are going to be able to change things going forward, and I know it's really hard right now to be an active citizen and engage with the government, but things are getting better, and there are not just tools for you to give your input and to give your knowledge, but there are ways for you to understand what's going on, to identify who your local representative is. These are things that are on your app, and so I would also recommend everyone check out the Sunlight Foundation. They're doing amazing work. And then the last thing would just be to, live with less of these associations, and don't be afraid to take time to just stare out a window and calm down and, bring your friend with you, and both of you, just people watch for a day and remove that identity, because it's huge in allowing you to do your best work in whatever you're doing. It doesn't have to be government, but you'll work best when you keep your identity in check, you remove it, and you're aware of it, and you can also teach other people to do this as well. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much.